The moment you open your mouth to explain yourself, you have already lost. Not emotionally, not morally. Strategically. Picture the moment clearly. A subtle accusation lands. A casual jab at a dinner table. A quiet challenge to your competence. In a meeting. A lover twisting your words just enough to make you doubt yourself. You feel it instantly. Heat in the chest. Breath tightens. Cortisol floods your bloodstream. Your mind panics. They misunderstood me. That's not what I meant. I need to correct this right now. So you speak. You clarify. You justify. You offer context. You explain your intention. And in that exact second, you have handed them your throat. Because the world does not judge you by the truth of your words. It judges you by the desperation of your delivery. The one who explains is the one who submits. The one who defends is the one who accepts the other person's authority to judge them. This is the brutal truth modern society tries to hide from you. Power is about the frame, not the facts. Machiavelli understood something that makes people uncomfortable. Power has nothing to do with being right. It has everything to do with who holds the frame. The moment you defend yourself, you step into their frame. You become the defendant. They become the judge. You are now standing in their courtroom, arguing for your innocence. But what if the courtroom never existed? What if the accusation was never about truth, but about control? Most people live their entire lives as emotional puppets, pulled by the strings of other people's reactions. Someone frowns, they apologize. Someone questions, they explain. Someone accuses, they defend. They exist in a permanent state of reaction, desperately trying to prove they are good, intelligent, or worthy. It is exhausting. It is humiliating. And over time, it suffocates the soul. But there is another way to move through the world. A way so psychologically sovereign that insults don't bounce off you. They dissolve before they even touch you. This is not coldness. This is sovereignty. This is not about being arrogant. This is not about being cruel. This is not about dominance for its own sake. This is about a fundamental shift in where you derive reality. Today, we are dissecting the psychology of non-defense. Why your biology betrays you in moments of accusation. Why explaining feels necessary but is fatal. And how silence, when wielded correctly, becomes a weapon that destroys ego without lifting a finger. Machiavelli would have whispered this to princes, not peasants. But understand this clearly. This path requires you to kill something inside yourself. The part of you that begs to be understood. The part of you that needs permission. The part of you that wants approval more than power. If you can kill that need, you become dangerous. Not loud, not aggressive, untouchable. Why your instinct to defend was programmed. Ask yourself honestly, why, when someone challenges you, is your first instinct to prove your innocence? This instinct did not come from nowhere. It was trained into you. Think back to childhood. You are 5 years old. A parent or teacher accuses you of something. What was the only escape? Explanation. I didn't break it. It fell. I didn't hit him. He hit me first. You learned something critical at that age. Authority figures judge. Survival depends on convincing them you are good. The problem, you grew up. But your nervous system didn't. Now you walk through the world projecting that authority figure onto everyone. Your boss, your partner, strangers online, even your enemies. Every time you defend yourself, you are subconsciously saying, "You are the judge. I am the child. Please accept my explanation so I can feel safe." That energy is unmistakable. And human beings, primal creatures that we are, can smell submission instantly. Respect is safer than being understood. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved." Translate that into modern life. It is much safer to be respected than understood. When you rush to explain, you prioritize understanding over respect. You are saying, "Please see my intent. Please get me. Please validate my inner reality." A king does not explain his decree to peasants. A lion does not justify its hunt to the gazelle. The moment you start rambling, pulling out messages, referencing past events, stacking logic, you signal something dangerous. Your stability depends on their agreement. And once someone knows that, they own you. They have the key to your psychological house. And they will trash it whenever they feel bored. The trap of the validating self? Here is the lie you keep believing. If I just explain it clearly enough, they'll finally understand. How often does that actually happen? Almost never, because the accusation was never about facts. It was about power. They didn't accuse you to learn the truth. They accused you to see if you would jump. And you jumped. The first step to becoming untouchable is realizing this. The courtroom does not exist. There is no judge. There is no jury. There is only your perception of reality. The moment you stop treating other people like judges, their accusations stop sounding like verdicts. They become what they always were: opinions, noise, the silence that terrifies manipulators. Now imagine this. Someone throws a verbal spike at you. You're being incredibly selfish right now. The old you reacts instantly. No, I'm not. I did this and that for you. I'm just tired, defensive, predictable, weak. Now imagine the Machiavellian response. They say it again. You're being incredibly selfish. You look at them. You hold eye contact. You don't blink. You don't speak. You let the silence stretch. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5. That silence becomes a vacuum. And the human brain is terrified of vacuums during conflict. Silence signals something primal. The game has stopped. Most people panic. They rush to fill the void. I mean, not always selfish. Just right now. Why are you looking at me like that? They start defending themselves against your silence. The power has flipped. Why silence works. This is the gray rock method taken to a lethal level. You become a void, and a void cannot be attacked. You cannot punch mist. You cannot stab water. By refusing to provide resistance, their attack passes straight through you and unbalances them. This requires discipline. Inside, your ego is screaming. Say something clever. Defend yourself. You must leash that dog. Machiavelli knew the most powerful person in the room is the one who cannot be read. Because when you defend, you reveal everything. Your values, your wounds, your buttons. I'm not stupid. Good intelligence is your insecurity. I'm not a bad person. Good morality is your insecurity. Silence reveals nothing. It is a dark mirror. And when they look into it, they only see their own aggression reflected back. That reflection makes people deeply uncomfortable when silence is not enough. Sometimes words are required, but never defensive words. You never push against force. You pull it. This is conversational aikido. In dark psychology, it's called agree and amplify. If someone accuses you of something absurd, defending validates the absurdity. Instead, you exaggerate it until it collapses. Them, you're obsessed with money, you're greedy. Defensive you? No, I just want to provide for my family. Weak, Machiavellian you caught me. I actually swim in a vault of gold like Scrooge McDuck every Tuesday. Terrible for my back. Flat face, slight smirk. You just did 3 things. You refused to be insulted. You showed zero insecurity. You seized the frame. You took their knife and used it to peel an apple. That is amused mastery. And amused mastery is the highest social status. Why amusement is untouchable. Amused mastery is the posture of a parent watching a toddler tantrum. You don't argue with a toddler. You don't get angry. You observe. When you defend yourself, you crawl onto the floor and scream with the toddler. Stand up, look down, smile. Robert Greene, in the 48 Laws of Power, speaks about refusing the identities others impose on you. If you fight the label, you interact with it. If you mock it, you dissolve it. You're arrogant. I prefer charmingly confident, but sure. You only care about yourself? I'm working on it. I'll add you to the list next year. Savage, dismissive, attractive, because it signals wholeness. A person who knows they are generous laughs when called selfish. A person who knows they are intelligent laughs when called stupid. If you defend, it's because part of you fears they might be right. And that is the real work. Let's go deeper. Because silence alone is not the endgame. Silence is the door. What you step into after it is sovereignty. The hidden structure of every conflict. Every confrontation has an invisible architecture. It doesn't matter if it's a relationship argument, a workplace dispute, or a casual social jab. There is always a role assignment. One person becomes the judge, the other becomes the defendant. The judge asks questions, the defendant answers. Why did you do that? What were you thinking? How could you say something like that? The moment you answer, you accept the role. Whoever asks the questions holds the power. Whoever answers is already losing status. Most people never notice this structure. They are too busy explaining themselves. The most lethal Machiavellian move is not to give a better answer. It is to refuse the role of defendant entirely. How to seize the judge's seat. When someone accuses you, the instinct is to explain. Resist it. Instead, you redirect the frame. You turn the lens back onto them. Example. Them. Why are you always so late? Defensive you. There was traffic and my alarm didn't go off. Status loss. Machiavellian you. Why does my arrival time affect your mood so strongly? Notice what just happened. We are no longer talking about the clock. We are talking about their emotional regulation. Them's. You're being ridiculous. Machiavellian you. What makes you feel the need to use labels like that instead of saying what you actually want? You are no longer the accused. You are the observer. You have stepped out of the cage and are now walking around it. This is infuriating to manipulators. Because they want you reactive, flustered, explaining. Instead, you are calmly analyzing them like a specimen in a jar. The verbal force field. Sometimes you don't even need to flip the frame. You simply refuse to accept it. Phrases like, "That's an interesting interpretation. You seem very invested in this. Does saying that make you feel better? I see you feel strongly about this." These statements do something subtle but devastating. They acknowledge the sound of the words without accepting the content. You are saying, "This is your emotion, your perception, your problem. I am not carrying it for you." This is a boundary, a psychological force field. You are not denying their experience. You are refusing ownership of it. And that distinction matters. Why you keep trying to fix other people's feelings? Here is the deeper truth. When you defend yourself, you are not defending facts. You are trying to manage someone else's emotions. You are trying to calm their anger, appease their disappointment, repair their discomfort. Stop. That is not your job. Their anger belongs to them. Their disappointment is theirs to process. Their perception is their responsibility. The moment you stop carrying other people's emotional baggage, your life becomes lighter. You reclaim energy you didn't know was leaking. The paradoxical power of agreement. Now comes the move that feels counterintuitive. Sometimes the most dominant response is not silence, it is agreement. But not submissive agreement, not apologetic agreement. This is agreement stripped of shame. This is the agreement of the abyss. Imagine someone attacking you aggressively, listing your flaws, trying to provoke a fight. You look at them calmly and say, "You're right." And then, nothing. No explanation, no justification, just stillness. This is called fogging. When you throw a rock into fog, there is no impact, no rebound. The attack disappears. They expected resistance. Instead, the door was open. They fall forward, owning actions without accepting identity attacks. There is a critical nuance here. You can agree with a fact without accepting a label. Them's. You messed up this report. You're incompetent. Defensive you. I'm not incompetent. The data was wrong. Weak. Sovereign you. You're right. The report has errors. I'll fix it. Notice what you did not address. You did not touch the word incompetent. You accepted responsibility for the action. You rejected the identity attack. This signals immense confidence. Only insecure people fight desperately to prove they never make mistakes. Secure people say, yes, I messed up, and move forward. Machiavelli would call this disarming the enemy. If you lay down your sword, they look foolish holding theirs. They lose momentum. They lose narrative control. And suddenly, they look emotional. Why none of this works without inner work? Now comes the uncomfortable truth. These techniques do not work if they are only tactics. If your voice is shaking, if your eyes are darting, if your energy is screaming, please like me, people will sense it. Dark psychology is 20% language and 80% frame. Frame is internal, which brings us to the shadow. Why their words hurt you? Ask yourself honestly, why does a specific accusation hurt? If I tell you that you have green skin, you won't defend yourself. You'll laugh because there is no wound there. But if I call you a failure and you rush to explain, that's not about me. That's about a part of you that fears it might be true. The ultimate defense is not silence. It is self-knowledge. When you know your flaws, they lose their power. When you accept your shadow, no one can weaponize it against you. If you know you are capable of selfishness and someone calls you selfish, you say, sometimes yes. If you know you are capable of cruelty and someone calls you cruel, you say, I can be. There is nothing left to expose, no leverage. You cannot shame a person who has already accepted themselves. You cannot threaten someone who has nothing left to hide. This is what it means to be untouchable, not armored, integrated. You are no longer a fortress, you are the wind. A fortress needs defending, the wind does not. Arrows pass through it, blades swing through empty air. When you integrate your shadow, insults lose their hooks, they have nothing to grab onto, and the attacker feels that immediately. They sense there is no purchase, no grip, no control. The 7-day no defense challenge. Now comes the practice. For the next 7 days, you play a game. The game is called No Defense. Rules. If you're late, say, I'm late. No reasons. If you spill coffee, say, I spilled it. No blaming the cup. If someone misunderstands you, let them. Do not fix it. Sit in the discomfort. Feel the urge to explain, to manage perception, to be the good one, and let that urge burn. Watch what happens. People will be confused, then unsettled, then respectful, because nothing signals certainty like a person who does not need to justify their existence. From child to sovereign, this is the shift. You are no longer the child begging authority for safety. You are the sovereign. You define yourself. The world will try to pull you back. It loves reactions. Do not feed it. Keep your mystery. Keep your silence. Keep your power. If this philosophy resonates with the part of you that is tired of performing, then you already know. You are done being prey, and you are ready to become ungovernable.